I'm so excited for that piece to come out when I release that piece. Hey, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Sick of This Shit Publications. I'm Nick Paro. This is the Intelligent Masculinity series. And as you start coming in on Substack, on YouTube, on TikTok, wherever you're finding us, hit that heart, smash the heart wherever you are. Help us boost in the algorithm. Get this a great audience because these are fun as hell shows. Welcome, everyone. I'm Nick Paro, not your dad. I am someone's dad. I am someone's dad because I got two kids. But hey, everyone, good afternoon. This is Intelligent Masculinity, and I'm being welcomed on by a good friend of mine who you're going to start seeing a lot more of in general because we have our Diogenes Club together every other Thursday, which you'll see us on this Thursday. Is Evan Fields from News from Underground in Lincoln Square, and I'm so excited to have you, man.
I'm
So
excited too,
excited to
man.
talk to you, brother. How
I've
are
been
you?
having a lot of fun watching the show and everything, watching the episodes that you've done so far with Eric and Sherrod and Shane and Walter and everybody else. And I'm really excited for this, man. I've been anxiously looking at the question set and everything, trying to come up with proper and productive answers and trying to come up with definitions and stuff myself because I'm still learning what intelligent masculinity is and everything. You know what I mean? Just like I think we
Yeah,
all are.
yeah,
But I'm
and
excited to
I
be here, man. I'm excited to do this.
that's awesome, and I'm so glad you are putting the effort in to think about the questions too, because everybody's coming up with their own unique individual responses, and that's kind of the point. Like, I wanted everybody to have their own unique responses because we're all individuals. Like, we each have our own approach to this. We have our own masculinity, and that's the difference between intelligent masculinity, one of the many differences between intelligent masculinity and fragile masculinity. But one of the differences is we self assess and we
Hmm.
ask ourselves questions. And that's going to be one of the questions I actually ask Evan about today. So, for everyone, thanks for coming in so far. Hit that heart with us. And let's get into what is going on because there's a lot of shit going on in the world right now. And I want to tie it into one specific person who is not Donald Trump specifically. Um, but I want to tie it into one person who was a contributor for one of the major networks, Michael Cohen. I want to ask your opinions on it before we get into the intelligent masculinity discussion for you specifically. Also, hey everyone in the chat. It's good to have you all here. Keep saying hi, keep smashing the heart. Join us. I'm so glad you're here. These are such fun conversations, and the response back has been incredible from folks. And the downloads for the podcast are for the written article that I did. I did it as an audio episode so it could get the podcast ratings and see what it looked like on there. This morning I woke up, it had almost 1,700 downloads, which is fucking incredible. Like,
That's awesome.
thank you. Thank you to everyone. But I wanted to, and I released these articles early. And I told Evan this too. Like, I have Evan and I, and like Eric and Walter, and some of us just talk back and forth because we have to have our own friends groups and chats too. And I told them, I was like, hey, what um I was like, I gotta release these early because Michael Cohen's a piece of shit. Someone asked in the chat, where do I stand on Michael Cohen? Michael Cohen is a piece of shit. Michael Cohen is the definition in my mind of fragile masculinity and the abandonment of going towards intelligent masculinity because he
Hmm.
claimed to have made a mea culpa, and he strove towards more intelligent masculinity on the outside, but then he abandoned it for wanting to get a pardon. I think
Hmm.
Michael Cohen deserves all of the hate that he's getting towards him because he brought it on himself. And like I said in my last show, is we have to talk about Michael Cohen because if we don't, only only white men get off for doing this shit without any consequence to their actions. And we'll talk about that as as a definition of intelligent masculinity, because I know, Evan, you've read what my definition of masculinity, intelligent masculinity, is, and we'll talk about it when I get to that question too. But I want to know your thoughts on Michael Cohen and what's happened here, because I think it's important that we do put our foot down or make a statement on where we stand on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you made a really good point about it being like another white man that just gets away with things, especially right now with the conversation that's being centered around Don Lemon for doing the reporting
Yes.
in Minneapolis, and they're threatening him with jail time and everything. And we've got on the other side of you've got the white man with Michael Cohen, and he's got all this crazy shit going on, and you're not really hearing a peep about it.
Mhm.
One of the things that I will say is I know that there are people that I've talked to in the past. There's people that I work with. There's people that I guess I'm associated with through Lincoln Square that have, I don't know, not necessarily worked with Michael, but done interviews with him, done discussions with him, and everything like that. So I do want to say that I recognize that and everything, and I'm not sure what their perspectives on it are or anything. So I'm not speaking for anybody else at Lincoln Square or anything, but I am speaking for myself when I say that, back in 2019, 2020, that was, I believe it was a year or two. I believe that right before COVID or right after he got out of prison or jail or whatever it was. And that's kind of when he made excuse my voice, I know it's kind of shaky, but it's freezing ass cold down here in this basement right now.
Get yourself a porta heater, man.
Oh my goodness. No, I've got one in the other room. I just didn't bring it in here. And oh
Oh,
my goodness.
or get a dog as a blanket.
Yeah, I know, right? But he was kind of part of that whole movement. I don't want to say it was a giant grift or anything, but there was that resistance movement during COVID and everything where everybody saw this opportunity online. Like everybody was home. Granted, there were people that were losing their jobs and everything like that, and they were dealing with real world problems. But it seemed like there was kind of this opportunity for people to make money off hating Trump and the anti-Trump, anti-MAGA kind of movement. And I noticed there was a lot of people online and everything, a lot of people on Twitter that were talking about that were kind of entering that movement. Like they solidified themselves as part of a resistance. I don't want to name any names or anything, but you guys probably remember who they were. There were some, I don't know, big profile names out there, and they came up with websites and started selling things and kind of making a living off of that. I guess it's not too much different than what we do with I don't know. I'm trying to be nice and everything. But during that whole movement, during that whole timeline and everything, I kind of saw that and kind of had a little bit of a problem with it because I thought it
Hmm.
was feeding on people's anxieties and kind of trying to monetize that.
Yeah.
And it made me nervous. It made me iffy. It kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. And I saw him as kind of the main driving force in that. Not necessarily like the main person, but he had I worked for Trump. I've been through this shit. Like Trump came after me. Like now I'm turning on him. I'm for pro democracy and everything like that. But there was never really a full throated, not even like an apology, but an explanation. Like, here's
Hmm.
why I did what I did. Here's why I worked for him so long. Here's why I was doing these things. Here's why I was a fixer that was intimidating other people's families and stuff like that. Here's why I was going after vulnerable people. And if you would have told me that, like, hey, I grew up in a rough situation and I was trying to make it out and I got through law school and this was the guy that gave me an opportunity and I felt loyal to him and I felt like I had a responsibility to try and protect him. I understand
Yeah.
that we're all human beings and everything, and we all have bills to pay, we all have families to take care of, we all have anxieties. That's, if he would have said that, that's completely fine. If you do the mea culpa, like you said, like he named his podcast, and you know, come out and say, like, I feel bad about these things. I think that people were willing to accept that, and I think that that's what you saw. But at the same time, I do think that there's a section of the Democrat base or liberals or just as a whole that are so willing to buy into anything that's anti-Trump that they kind of had their blinders on. And you know, the Epstein files weren't as big of an issue or as big of a talking point back then, and I think that that's what we're seeing come back out now is, you know, the Epstein files, we realize now, is attached to everything. It's the reason
Yeah.
for all these distractions. It's the reason that we've seen, you know, Democrats hold on to things and capitulate to Trump to try and help out their side. We see it with Republicans, we see it with businessmen, foreign dignitaries, everything. And that's the one fucking thing that people don't play about from both sides. They don't have any room for child trafficking. They don't have any room for rape or sexual assault or wealthy businessmen and politicians taking advantage of people like us. And we saw it with Tara Palmieri and Ellie Leonard, and I'm forgetting somebody. I know that there's somebody else, but
Zev
Tara,
Shalev.
yeah, Zev, he's another one. The three of them have been doing incredible work on calling out the inconsistencies and calling out the things that people aren't talking about. And Tara asked him a while ago that question about, like, hey, this Katie Johnson stuff doesn't make sense because you would have been working for Trump at that time and you would have been his fixer. So, like, what's the deal? And then there were the things about, I don't know the exact details, but Michael said something like, oh, I dealt with an infant case or something like that, and kind of didn't go into things. But it basically goes back to, you just got to be fucking honest, man. And you got to have integrity. And people are willing to accept imperfect people. I'm certainly imperfect. I
Keep
fuck up
monologuing.
on
I'll
a
be right
daily
back.
basis.
I got a
Yeah,
baby
yeah, no,
that's
you're
asking
good.
for me. I'll be right back.
No worries, man. Parenthood comes first, always. Oh man, the joys of going live. God, Nick's such a great dude. I know I can't see the chat right now, but I hope you're all doing good. I hope you all are hanging in there and everything. I know it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time for me too. I almost had a freak out this morning. I'll probably save that for Nick, but it's a stressful time, man. And intelligent masculinity, I think it's such an important topic right now. And it's so good that Nick's doing this work. And I'll be right back too, because I'm going to go grab a sweatshirt.
Okay, I should be back. We'll cut this a little bit in the post show. I'll actually do just a little bit of editing so that this shrinks down. We'll give Evan some time to come back to. No worries, dude. Take your time. Hey, what's up?
I took the opportunity to warm up.
Heck yeah, man. You should. Thanks for also monologuing a little bit there. I was listening as you were talking.
Of course, man. We always, you got to take care of the kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, and when someone comes in and says, Uncle Nick, Uncle Nick goes and takes care of what needs to be done.
Of course. I got to take the nieces to swimming tonight, so I feel you.
Yeah, and my kids, when they need me, I'll pause the podcast and I'll look at what they're doing and say hi to them. Like, that's life. That's what we do here. We just don't put them on screen. Because, you know, I respect my kids' privacy. The whole Michael Cohen thing to me too is he's trying to make us think that it's okay that he paid off or like intimidated a different witness.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's trying to make us think that's okay. Like, the same crime, just for a different person. Like, what makes that any better, dude? Like, your defense isn't a defense. It's just, I didn't do this one, but I did this one, so you should feel bad for me because, I did this one, but nobody really cares because it was a different case. It was about an infant, but there's no case record for it. Dude, you're lying. Like, just
Exactly.
come clean, because you are shifting the blame, and now you're telling all of us that we need to apologize to you because you got called out. Like, you made it an us problem. Now we're making it a you problem back. And that's what part of these discussions I hope to reveal a lot of is like, how do we stop having Michael Cohen's and instead have Evan Fields and
God.
Nick Paros or Walter Rhines or Eric Lulovs or Tim Fullerton or Chris Goldsmith. And I'm going to plug Chris and Tim here real quick for the Find Out podcast.
Of course.
If you have not listened to their episode this morning, it's January 20th, Tuesday, January 20th. They did an interview with Stormy Daniels.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I haven't finished the whole interview yet. I'm going to finish listening to it this afternoon. And I'm dropping it in the chat here in Substack too. For anyone on Substack, you can go to that link after this show and listen to their interview with Stormy Daniels.
I bet she had a lot to say.
You will learn so much about this woman, about the canceling that has happened to her since she came forward. Did you know that Trump tried to do it again to silence her?
Like after
last year. Like last year. Like, I think it was last year. Like, she was like, I have the records. They called me to do it again, to silence me, to pay me off and sign an NDA. I was like, what the fuck?
Because that's
I know this isn't our intelligent masculinity interview yet, but dude, you got to listen to that episode. Just for everybody here in the audience too, you have to listen to that episode. It reveals so much. Like, her horse was shot by a member of the press as an intimidation tactic. A member of the press. Like, and she has things to back all of this up. Like, she's not just making shit up. She has all the evidence backing what she's done up and what's happened. It's so crazy. Today's episode on the Find Out podcast, I'll drop it here again in the Substack chat. I'll link it in the post show notes too, because it is that important to watch that episode. Like, watch this freaking episode. It'll change your understanding of some things.
And it does go back. I mean, you can tie it to the intelligent masculinity because it goes back to, I mean, with the Michael Cohen thing that we were talking about, it goes back to integrity and everything. And there's we know that Trump doesn't have integrity. We know that he doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's almost amazing to hear that because there's no integrity from anybody else around the system, because that's the very thing. Didn't he get charged for that? Or they were thinking about charging
That's
him
the only case that they got
place?
Against him was the Stormy Daniels case. But it was only about the payoff. Like, she wasn't even really needed in that case. It was how they paid her off. She has so much more that she's like, I don't understand how, not slighting E. Jean Carroll in any way. She was like, but I don't understand how she's gotten so much money out of all of this for a lesser offense. And I've lost, and Stormy's lost a ton of money. She's basically canceled on the internet. She's canceled in her industry. She's canceled everywhere. Like, the whole internet canceled her. Like, that takes a coordinated effort of money and energy, because people are like, oh, you can't cancel someone on the internet. Yeah, you can. The internet is just data stored in servers. Like, that shit can be erased. They have the money to do it, and they will do it. And like, it's just they're hiding behind these flimsy excuses and these false masculinity and this charade of what it means to be a man. So maybe let's get into it
Yeah.
on what it means to be a man, because although all of this is really important and it builds into our conversation, it builds into what it means to be what it looks like to not be a real man, like Donald Trump, JD Vance, Michael Cohen, Michael Wolf, those aren't images of what men can or should be. Don Lemon, he's a good image for a lot of men to look up to. He has a lot
Think
of
so too.
integrity. I would lump Don Lemon happily into the category of an intelligent masculine man.
Hmm.
And he is being demonized. And so we're going to get into in our thoughts, and mostly in Evan's thoughts here, what it means to be that intelligent masculine man. And so I know, Evan, you've been listening to all the shows. I see you in the chats when you're here. Again, hey, everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here. This is the heart of the interview. We're just getting started. We're going to have some fun questions, and we're going to have just a good conversation about Evan and his growth and what he's gone through in life. And it'll go unexpected ways like it has in all the other conversations. So, bringing that together, let's talk about intelligent masculinity, starting with our first question. Yep, put him on the spot, as Evan says. As our friend Dr. Eric Lulove says, our good buddy is we're going to put Evan on the spot for a minute,
Oh
and
man.
he's going to have some fun. I'm going to make sure you have some fun because you know I will. So let's get into it. So, for our first question, this is going to be a two-parter most likely because it has been for pretty much everyone, and we don't have a time constraint at the moment. And so, we're going to go into whatever detail Evan wants to. Who has been one of the most influential male figures in your life and why? This can be for either positive or negative reasons.
That's the hanger right there. Is that's what I've been thinking about. Like what since you sent me the questions is like, does it have to be positive? Is it somebody that's been a negative role model and like I've learned from that? And who's it going to be? Is it going to be an athlete? And I've got like a Kobe Bryant memorial tattoo on my arm. And he was like the first person I thought of. I was like, that was like God to me growing up in Southern California and being a sports player and everything and the whole Mamba mentality. And he was just like the pinnacle of like when I played sports and everything, it was a big deal. He was just he just had it together and he had this unbelievable mindset that was just so focused on a simple goal and would do anything and go pay any price to accomplish that. And that's the easy answer. That's the sort of motivational answer and everything. I've always
And who,
had,
interrupting
huh?
for a second, who doesn't throw things into the trash and go, Kobe?
Exactly.
Like that's what if
Everybody
it's
does
far
it.
away, Kobe. And I
Hmm.
wasn't a Lakers fan. I'm a Celtics fan.
Oh,
Like
you
I grew
son
up
of
in
a
Vermont
bitch. You
and I
bastard.
followed the Celtics forever. Like
I still love
that
you.
is my team. That is the team that I care about of all the sports is the
All right,
Celtics.
we've got a new rivalry brewing
Hell yeah, we
between
do.
me and you. But yeah, but I've always had e- inside with sports too that like my dad fits into that. He's fit into my whole life. He was my coach all the way growing up, and me and him have had a complicated relationship, as I'm sure a lot of fathers and sons do. My dad and I are especially unique and especially like different in our own ways. Like we're very, very similar in how I guess how our lives have gone. So not to get too far into the weeds, I would have to say it's my dad, for both good and bad. Me and him have had a lot of fights, arguments, butted heads throughout the years. We've had the teenage years were bad and everything. We are both very strong headed and everything. My dad grew up in California like I did. He had a father that was in the military like I did. My dad was in the Air Force. His dad was in the Army. Um, my dad grew up with, like, I guess you could say it's the classic American dream. He was born in 1956 and rode through the 60s and 70s and had the quiet neighborhood in Stockton, California. Like his buddy growing up was what's the singer's name? The Chris Isaac. He sings kind of those like you would know the songs if you heard him, but he was buddies with him.
Probably.
He had like the idyllic childhood growing up, just a normal working class kid and everything. But his dad had a gambling addiction, I guess. And my dad, one of the reasons I didn't learn until later, that's one of the things with our parents is we don't learn kind of the things that affect them while we're growing up until we get a little bit older. When my dad was 16, his dad, I guess, had attempted suicide a couple weeks before, and he was in his room. His mom was at work. He's a 16-year-old kid, and his dad comes in the room with the bandages on his arms from the previous suicide attempt, and he said, "I'm going to kill myself. Take care of your mom. Bye." Walked out of the house. They found my dad's dad on the shores of the San Joaquin River about 3 days later. And I still don't know what he did, but not his dad, but my dad, like how he reacted, how he handled things after that. I know from growing up that it was really hard on him because in return, he was really hard on me as a result of that unprocessed trauma. And in to put it in perspective, like even when I was in the Army now, and I'm sure you can recognize it too, Nick, that mental health care in the military is kind of, now it's better, but it was a kind of like a taboo thing. Even kind of when we were in, it was, oh, you didn't get blown up or anything, oh, you didn't deploy, like you don't need to go to behavioral health, like that's for those guys, that sort of thing. There are other implications with security clearances, and my dad was a space and missile guy who had a top secret security clearance, and that's the way that he provided for his family. Is he was an Air Force guy and he had to have that top secret security clearance because that meant his job. And he never got help for his problems. My mom begged him and pleaded, and me and him would have blow up fights, and he would get hyper vigilant, and everything was an existential crisis and the end of the world. And, there was, I guess now it could be considered abuse. We didn't look at it that way when we were kids or anything. Um, he was always present. Like I said, he coached my little league teams. I knew that he loved me, but that's a confusing thing when you're a little boy and your dad flips out when he comes home, or he's in a bad mood after work and you don't understand why, and you don't understand why you have a grandpa, and these things aren't really talked about and they're not really discussed. And it's I've learned all this now, but like I said, it is a confusing thing when you're growing up, and it's a sad thing, and it causes trauma, and it causes strife, and it causes unclear boundaries and unclear lines with your parents. And that's why I say it's complicated with my dad, because I had a really tough childhood. I can't lie about that. I can't say that it was easy. I felt like, so this is still going into it, but like with the
No,
baseball
please
thing,
do. Whatever you're comfortable with, man.
I was very, very, very talented at baseball. I was a left-handed pitcher and I threw really hard, and you could tell from an early age that, like, holy shit, this kid has something, that sort of thing. And
Lefties unite, brother.
yeah, and he dove into that, and that was part of like his trauma and him not dealing with it, and he saw that as an opportunity to try and make things better for me. And I guess all of this is to say like how important mental health and taking care of yourself is. But I always looked up to him, and he was always like the superhero to me, but it was that like two sides thing. It was a relationship that I didn't really learn how to process until I went to therapy myself. And once I started going to therapy, I had those discussions with him like, hey, what was the deal growing up and everything? Like, I knew there was a certain point where my mom told me like, hey, your dad doesn't talk about his dad because of this. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit. And you kind of just leave it alone. And he told me, and he was like, my dad used to beat the shit out of me. He was a gambling addict. Like, bookies used to show up at the door. He told me a story that his dad was drunk one time and his mom wasn't home, and he threw him in the car, and they went to a casino, and his dad left him outside in the parking lot in the car for 5 hours and came back out with no money and said, you better not fucking tell your mom or I'll kill you.
That's
And
ridiculous.
yeah, man. So
Jesus.
he grew up with
I'd call
stuff
that
like that.
abuse. Like, I'd
Yeah.
call that abuse. That's definitely abusive behavior.
Yeah,
Do you
dude.
know, like, you're bringing up a really interesting thing, and I'm thinking about it while you're talking.
Hmm.
I've never asked my dad about his father in
Hmm.
any real meaningful way. And my dad's dad died before I was born. Like, my
Hmm.
dad's father died when he was in high school. Like, it's been a
Hmm.
long time. And he never really talks about it. It's never been a subject that's come up. I just know I have a grandfather on that side, but I've never really talked about it. And I wonder, and I don't know if my dad would tell me about it. And I'm
Hmm.
probably going to ask him at this point now, because I should. If I don't, I'll never know. Um,
Hmm.
and like, it's interesting. It's so interesting to hear your story about this because I can see how it might reflect in my own story in different ways too.
Hmm.
Um, and that's like, I didn't even think about that. Like, I never even think about like, oh, like, what was my dad's father like when he was a kid? And I know he's told my oldest brother, and I know some of it, but
Hmm.
I've never heard from my dad's perspective, and I'm very curious now, and I hope he opens up about it. And so you've opened up my ability to ask my dad some questions too.
That's
So
all
thank
we're
you.
all trying to do is just be better. And I think that that's something that we can teach our parents' generation is that it's okay to open up about those things because that's what we're learning. And I think that that I think that that discussion never would have happened if I hadn't have gone to therapy and I hadn't have looked into those things within myself and asked those questions. And you know, I it's really therapy and dealing with my own mental health and dealing with my problems is actually what helped me understand that relationship a lot better and see myself in him. And that's really when it kind of solidified for me that he's been that constant my entire life. He's been the constant example for bad, of what not to do, of what I need to learn from and do different, as far as like isolating from people or being quick to judge or being quick to anger or being quick to let trauma win over. I think that that's a big thing that I've learned from him. And I think that me and him have grown together. I think that we've almost been kind of on similar timelines since I've reached maturity and like left the army and everything, because he's in therapy now and he goes to medication management, and he's a completely different person. He still has all the best qualities of him, but he's actually dealing with his trauma and the stuff that he dealt with that kind of affected what I went through and what I dealt with. Because
Yeah.
there is that, it's not good to have that generational trauma. It's a fucked up thing that ruins people's lives because it ruins your perception on the world, and it takes away that sense of safety that kids are supposed to have. And it kind of puts you into this fight or flight survival mode that you shouldn't have to be in and that you're going to operate in for the rest of your life. But with that being said, is there comes a certain point where I think that we recognize that, and that goes into part of being intelligently masculine, is standing up and recognizing those things and taking the first step. And me and my brother were the first ones in the family to do it. And we were the generation that decided in my family, like, hey, we got to deal with this shit. We got to get better. We've got to go to therapy and handle this stuff so that my brother's kids will be okay. And you see that, and it's like they tell you that at some point shit has to change, and you don't take the time to think about it. But I'm really proud of me and my brother for actually doing that. Maybe we didn't consciously do it, but we were consciously taking care of ourselves and showed other people in our family that it's okay and you can do it. So it's definitely my dad, for both the good and bad. I've learned amazing things from him, and I think that his core character, who he is, a protector, a family man, a hardworking person with integrity. And I look at him because I see myself in him. I see a flawed human being that makes mistakes and gets angry and does things that he regrets, but still at his core, he loves his family and loves the people around him and genuinely wants people to be okay. And I think that that's what I try to carry, and kind of how I've tried to model myself after him.
I think that's awesome. Um, I love that your dad's been both a positive or I'm glad that you can see that your dad has been both positive and negative influence in your life, because that's important. Like, it's Shane Urich said it in the first, roughly said it in, I'll paraphrase some of the stuff he said, was like, his dad wasn't perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the thing that made him a good dad, was
Yeah.
he saw his dad grow, and that taught him how to grow too. Um, and this has been, I love getting to know more about my friends. So one of the things, before we go any further, I want to ask your age for everyone in the audience so that they know, because we've had Sherrod, who is 19, and Shane, who's 25. I'm 36. Eric is in his 50s. I'm not going to, and I think Walter's in his 50s too. I didn't ask exact ages, but they gave their rough ages. And so, where are you sitting in with us in this group?
I am 37. I turned 38 in April. So
Okay, so roughly my age.
yeah, but
Um,
I like to say that I'm about mentally 25 because I've dealt with addiction, I've dealt with trauma, so I like to think that I'm about 10 years behind. So I'm a fully functioning 25-year-old, but I'm 37.
that's fair. That's fair. And so Dr. Eric Lulov is 55. Walter Ryan is 50. So we've also had Lawrence Winterman. I won't he's in the 50s as well. I think early 50s. I don't know his exact age, so I won't say it. But like, we've had a range. And that's good, because that's what I want to know, what everyone else has gotten to experience and see
Mhm.
how it's developed differently in Lawrence is 104. I'm going to tell him you said that, Eric. I'm going to tell him you said that. I'm going to tell him you said he was Grandpa Lawrence, Papa Bear over there.
Because you get to look at like somebody like Eric and see his example of like what he went through and how he views the world, and
Yeah.
then you see the growth because Sharon, that freaking kid is. I
He's
mean, I know
amazing.
he's a grown man because he's got his shit together far more than I ever did at that age. But it's just incredible to see how in tune that generation is and
Oh yeah.
how emotionally intelligent they are. It's been this. That's why I will never not say enough good things about you doing this series, is because there's so much to learn from it.
Thanks. And I'm glad we're doing it because I'm learning a lot too. Like I my son and I had a really good weekend on how we de-escalated emotional in irregulation because we both have emotional distress tolerance issues,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to help him with the tools, but I don't want him to feel like I'm projecting me onto him. And
Mm-hmm.
we talked about that this weekend in a good way and helped him de-escalate. And we finally got to, oh, because this goes into like being a good positive father role model is really important. Like a lot of white men don't have positive male role models. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
white men, we like to say black families are broken, but black families in America tend to actually stay together in healthy ways in very high rates. White families tend to get more divorces and
Mm-hmm.
have very aggressive separations because we don't confront the fact that we don't have good male role models in our life. Some of us do. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I can see myself in Evan's dad or grandfather, or when you're coming home and you're trying to figure out why your child, or like as a child, like, why is dad mad?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would finish work and I would be that dad that was mad. And it projects onto your children and they don't understand what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to confront it. And so, Evan, this is really awesome that you saw that in your dad and your grandfather, and what your dad brought to the table from his dad, and how that like I can see that in myself too. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
being better because I don't want to be that dad that traumatized their kids and never fixed it and like and didn't learn and didn't grow. Um, and so one of the other pieces, and I want to make sure I said it clearly enough for everyone in the audience. White men have problems with male role models. White families tend to divorce at higher rates than other groups. And when they do divorce, it tends to be more aggressive and angry because white men are the problem right now. We cause the issue because we don't confront our own masculinity and our own errors. Um, and so white men need better father figures. So go be a father figure or an uncle figure that people can rely on, or just
Mm-hmm.
a male figure that people they can rely on. Like look up, make yourself into somebody that somebody would look up to. That your daughter, that your son or daughter, or niece or nephew, or grandchild, make yourself so that you're somebody you would look up to. And it sounds like even without doing it, Evan's dad did that. Evan is modeling that. It took him time to get here. Took me time to get here. Took Eric time. Took Walter time. Took Sherrod a lot less time. Like holy
Yeah.
fuck, man. Um, took took Shane a lot less time, and we're all still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Took Lawrence his time to get there. We're all working on it. One of the things too that I found is that this is going to be a long conversation. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Is we've also had other influences in our life that aren't male that are really important. And
Mm-hmm.
so the second part of our first question is who is the most influential female figure in your life?
My mom, hands down. It's not even close. It's she is, and I feel like shit saying this because I just had an argument with her this morning. I'm staying with my parents right now because I'm going through a divorce because I am a white man that's not perfect and
Yeah, but you're admitting it. You're admitting like you're
yeah.
trying to grow from what is happening? And
And that's
we
the thing that's
talked to
all we
you
can
right
do.
away after it, like to help
Hmm.
you go through it and make sure you weren't turning into that toxic white man who is trying to be a fucking shitbag. Like, it's so easy to do for white men, and because we get away
Exactly.
with it.
And that's why I love my mom. That's why she's the most important, is because she's the one that never lets me get away with it. It's like a perfect example of the divorce. I would have fights with my wife. Like, it was a bad year, and my wife was close with my mom and everything. My mom's kind of like the glue that holds the family together. She's an incredibly strong woman that has her own shit that she deals with. She's got chronic back problems and everything, and she still does everything that she needs to do without any complaints. She was a child care worker her entire career. She worked at the daycare center on Vandenberg Air Force Base back in California, and she she's just a mom, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
everybody that has like just a good genuine mom, you know that feeling. And I I feel horrible for anybody that didn't have it, you know what I mean? She's just a mother's love is something that's so sacred, but along with that, a mom who recognizes that her son doesn't necessarily have a positive role model, which my dad wasn't all the time, and my mom recognized that. And there were moments where I thought that they were going to get divorced and stuff, but they stuck it out, and she made it work, and she believed in him and fought through it and wanted us to have like a stable family and everything. But my mom was always the one that wasn't going to take shit. She taught me the emotional regulation of like right and wrong and good and bad, and this is how you treat people, and this is how you be polite to people, and you need to have manners, and you need to wash your hands when you come out of the bathroom, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she was doing the job of both, because while my dad wasn't equipped to handle me at an early age because of his own trauma, my mom stepped up, as all women do. I mean, I saw a clip earlier that somebody finally told Scott Jennings to shut the fuck up. And who was it? It was a woman. It was Lee McGowan or whatever. I am politics girl. I believe that's her handle. But it's always women doing the work. And my mom wasn't any different. And like I said, I feel bad because I get frustrated, and I'm a guy and I say stupid shit. And I got frustrated this morning because she accidentally gave my dog an extra diabetes shot, which wasn't a big deal. I mean, kind of, but it wasn't. I made a mountain out of a molehill. That's what, you know, and I'm going to have to go up there and apologize to her after, because that's part of what being an intelligently masculine person is recognizing your faults and everything. But she there's the thing about white families is and well, it does happen in black families too, but more predominantly in white families, because like you said, white families are the most likely to get divorced. We see a lot of black mothers who are incredibly strong women who will take on that father figure, and they will ensure that they raise a tough man and everything. It's a little bit different with, obviously, because different races, different cultures and everything. It's a little bit different with white families. The if a white male doesn't have a strong role model, then it's usually the mother that becomes the emotional regulator, becomes the protector and everything like that. If the mother also doesn't become the disciplinarian and everything, or if that's too much for the mother, then you start to get issues like these MAGA little shits that are growing up, because then they become openly hostile towards their mom because their mom's trying not disciplining them correctly, and they view women as less than and everything. So it creates those problems. My mom never had a problem with that. She would do you, the biggest threat was, do you want me to call your father? Because that usually meant like physical fear and stuff like that. But it was, she would be quick to, I don't know who the fuck you think you're talking to. She was that kind of mom. But she was also the team mom at Little League games, and
Hmm.
she would hug me when I didn't pitch good and let me cry and teach me that that was okay and everything. And so, emotional regulation and accountability. She was both of those things when I didn't necessarily have it from my dad. So, any good that's inside of me, any well functioning parts of me, that's all my mom. She gets all the credit for that. The
That's awesome.
determination, the obsessive parts of me that get addicted to being good at things and wanting to win and being great and not letting myself not succeed. I get those things from my dad. But the parts that I'm realizing as I get older and as I'm learning what masculinity is, I learned a lot of that from my mom. That's the hard truth, you know.
That's that's a common thread too with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us, even with good dads. Like
Yeah.
my dad was a great. I think my dad did a really good job. Um, I think there are places like things could have been better or different in the
Mm-hmm.
end, but it's nothing I can complain about in the long run. Like I wasn't abused as a kid. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
assaulted. I had a great life growing up. Um, and I had a female role model too, who my mom also in that, just like yours in that sense, um, is we need both. We need
Mm-hmm.
both types of role models, and we need men to fill all of the shoes too, not
Mm-hmm.
just half of the partnership or half of adulting or being a human. Like you need to be a full human too, who can handle all of the emotional responsibilities in the same way your spouse could, whoever that may be, or your partner or the other genders. If men can't handle the same emotional responsibility that women are, we're not complete human beings, and that just means we're lesser beings. Like we have more to work up to. Then is if we need to be better, um, and part of this is us growing because there are ways we do definitely need to be better. This is a better humaning thing. So this is not just targeted to men. This is targeted to all people, but I'm obviously focusing on men because men are the problem right now. Men are really the problem. We're driving the issue right now in really bad ways. And so we're seeing a lot of fragile masculinity out there. So, moving into our second main question is, what does intelligent masculinity itself mean to you?
Oh my gosh. How do I even put a definition on it? You know what I mean? It's looking inside your soul to take accountability and make progression based off what you see. It's taking inventory of you as a person and what you experience every day and making the conscious decision to get better. You know, we're not all going to be perfect. We're not all intellectual. The word scares me because when I think of intellectual, it's my own insecurities, but I've always thought of intellectuals as people like my brother, people like you, can people who are just genuinely intelligent and can speak eloquently about the things that they believe in. Now, that's not necessarily that intellectualism covers so many different things. And I learned through going back to school that I just learn in a different way. I just put things out in a different way. My thoughts and words just process at a different speed. It's why I'm better at writing. That doesn't mean that I'm any less intellectual or intelligent than anybody else. It's just a different kind of intelligence. And I think that the masculinity part of that is taking that accountability and recognizing those things and feeling safe and secure within yourself and who you are, to recognize that you can't make it an inferiority complex. You have to do the work on you, and you have to look inside yourself and see how you can make yourself better. What things are you doing on a daily basis to ensure that you're becoming a better person? Yeah, you did the shitty thing, but what are you going to learn? What are you going to put inside your toolbox that's going to ensure that you don't do that shitty thing next time? You know what I mean? Being intelligently masculine is just standing up and doing the right thing when you know it's the right thing to do. It's easy to be lazy, and it's easy to, and laziness is hateful, and laziness is ignorance and stuff like that. So it's taking the hard road even when you don't want to.
I think that I think that's a great definition. It also, to be it goes in with a lot with all the themes of what's happened before in our conversations. What I've noticed around intelligent masculinity too, and Evan already knows my thesis on what intelligent masculinity or the definition of it would be, which is the refusal to outsource accountability onto others and the discipline to live with the consequences of your values and actions. And Evan explained that. Like what Evan you were just talking about, man, was that is the idea of its consequences themselves are neutral in the beginning. They become good or bad consequences depending on what your actions bring about and what your values bring about, and how you take on those consequences, either with guilt or without, is what helps define, are you going to be an intelligently masculine male? Like,
Mm-hmm.
to me, like being able to question your decisions without guilt the whole way through, with being able to see that you can make a choice and you're just going to live with that consequence. Don't feel guilty for it unless you did a crime. Then obviously, I mean, if there's something to feel guilty about, feel guilty. But like, your consequence doesn't have to be guilt for your
Mm-hmm.
values and actions. It can be joy. The consequence of your actions may be a lifetime of joy. People think of consequences as bad things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think it's that discipline that you were just talking about of like being able to question yourself, being able to ask, continually doing it, using your going to therapy, using those
Mm-hmm.
techniques when you need them, doing emotional distress tolerance, and stopping yourself right before you do what could be a really bad thing where you would have to live with negative consequences. You stop yourself and go, that's a bad idea, and let it
Mm-hmm.
flow away. And let it flow away. And so, how do you model this intelligent masculinity that we've been defining here in your own life? What do you do for it?
What do I do for it? I am not perfect at it. It's a constant internal battle. I view myself as, I feel I think I feel emotions more than the average person. I think that when I experience emotions, they become like a boiling pot or burning flame in my chest, and sometimes it feels like, I'm sure a lot of other men deal with it too, sometimes it feels like you can't contain it, like you just need to get it out, like it just has to be something, like I can't deal with this. And I get like that too. I get like it all the time. I'm not perfect. I recognize my shortfalls, and I think that recognizing those shortcomings, no matter how often they happen, and taking accountability and taking inventory of those, I think that that's really, really, really important. I think that writing is one of the things that has seriously helped me to look introspectively and look at myself and take real inventory of how I'm living my life, and how, because a lot of my writing comes out as the person that I want to be, the person that I see myself as, the person that I feel like. Do I always act that way? No, absolutely not. But I try to act like that person every day, the person that I feel like, the person that I want to be. I try to make conscious decisions to put that person out into the world. Does that person always come across that way? No, absolutely not. But at the end, one thing that I do now is I've done it since the whole divorce thing came about. So for about the past month is I've sat every night, and before I write, I try to take personal inventory and accountability for the day. What did you do today? Who did you talk to today? How did you feel today? How did you make other people feel today? And if I got up and did something today, it could be something as simple as making the bed. All right, I got one thing done today. All right, I called my brother and talked to him. All right, I talked to one person today. I accomplished something. You know, taking inventory of what you accomplish and how you practice the way that you want to be and recognizing that. And that's just going to build into the next day because you're going to tell yourself, I can do it again. And you can challenge yourself to get better and do more. And just that, I really think that personal inventory and keeping yourself accountable is a great way to try and practice, you know, that form of intelligent masculinity and looking at yourself.
I'm writing down what you just said, which is challenge yourself to do better and be more.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that we really can do. You know what I mean? We obviously want to make a conscious decision every day to be a good person and do good things and to put good work out there and put a lot of effort into what we want. But, you know, just at the end of the day, you've got to look at yourself and make sure that you did that in some semblance and be proud of yourself at the end of the day.
So that fits really well too. One, I wanted to capture that quote because that's probably going to be the opening quote for the post show notes for this one because it's really good and it's a good mantra to live by. Is just challenge yourself to be a little bit better every day. You don't have to be upset with yourself if you don't get there all the way every day. You don't have to be upset with yourself or beat yourself up for not getting there all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make the effort? Did you fail along the way in the effort? Maybe, but did you make the effort? And then celebrate the little things. Like celebrate those wins, because as you celebrate all those wins along the way, you'll get to the victory point or what you thought initially was the victory point, and there'll be this huge culmination of wins you have celebrated along the way, and you'll feel so good. And you'll be like, wow, this feels good, and it'll feel complete. And it's okay to let yourself have that, which really fits into the next question of how do you self-reflect and self-evaluate? How do you challenge yourself to do better and be more?
Oh man,
more so than you've talked, because you've talked really well already a lot about this, is that self inventory that you do. Like when you ask yourself, I guess I'll be more specific in this question for you because you've talked a lot about self reflection and self evaluation. Is specifically when you see, say, with some of the more recent stuff that's been going on in your life and the divorce that you're going through. How do you challenge yourself right now, every day, to do better and be a little more, be more than you were?
Man, it's a
putting
really
you on the
tough
spot, my brother.
It's a really tough battle right now because I already have. It might have been from trauma from childhood, but I already have this overwhelming internal desire, thirst, whatever you want to call it, hole to fill, that success is the only thing that can fill it, and I have to get better, and I have to. It's like the 12-year-old in me or the 15-year-old or the 18-year-old has to pitch better. You know, it's a bad coping mechanism, but it's also the thing that has gotten me to the point where I am and the reason that I have any success or anything like that. But to so I don't ever have a problem with wanting more or pushing myself for more. What I try to do is self reflect and make sure that those things are doing for other people too, because that's what's making me feel. I don't know if that goes into the question, but that's what's making me feel better lately. And that's what's giving me more fulfillment and more out of my work and more personal success is, you know, looking at what I'm putting out there and how it's helping other people. That helps me reflect on how I'm doing and where, like, kind of a barometer for my success. I view as how many people, not necessarily how many people I reach, but how many people feel connected to how I feel. When I
Yeah.
put writing out there and I found that the more honest I am, the more emotionally intelligent I am, the more I talk about the things that are affecting me, the more that I talk about my faults and the things that I've done wrong, that people respond to that and people can learn from that. And people just want somebody else to say it. They want to know that somebody else is in the shit with them. And I think that that gives me a way to look internally and be like, all right, you're not the only one. Everybody else is going through this shit too. And you're going to get through it. And you're doing the job. You're doing the work right now. And I constantly have to remind myself of that because I apply physical exhaustion to hard work mentally. And I'm
Yeah.
still learning that, you know, there is, I can push myself to the limits without it being physically. And I think that that's a good thing to remember. And I think that that's what I'm learning from other people too.
And understanding your emotional limits and
Mm-hmm.
accepting those is a huge undertaking. Like, I work on that every day. It's like, have I met my mental limit for the day? And if I have, can I step away? Like, can I shut myself off? And that's really hard to do.
It's
And that's
so
part of
hard.
self evaluation. Like, taking, and this is again, this is a better humaning skill, not
Mm-hmm.
just aimed for men, women, anywhere in between, whatever gender, sex. I don't give a shit. Like, who gives a fuck? You can learn. This is better humaning. We're all people. Like, I want everyone to learn from this experience of, like, just reflect a little,
Mm-hmm.
just give yourself a little bit on the inside of self love and say, I'm worth reflecting on and growing. I'm worth the effort. I'm worth, say, when you say it to yourself, is use those I statements, is I'm worth it. And this is a place, like, there's so much other news going on right now in the world. There are some really big things going on in the world. This is also just as important
Mm-hmm.
because driving this conversation forward really should help men in a lot of ways to, and giving this out for other men just to listen to and then do in your life. Take one thing you've learned today, which is, if you've learned anything, is self-evaluate just for a second. Take a moment to go through your day before you go to bed and journal or write something down. Like, talk about it. Talk about what happened so you can account for it and go, did I do well? Do I need to improve? Did I fail? And
Mm-hmm.
don't guilt yourself or shame yourself or hate yourself. Give yourself the wins. Tell yourself it was good. Learn from the mistakes. Self evaluate. And Evan, although you may not see it or think about it or feel it sometimes, you're doing it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it really well, dude. Like,
I'm trying, man.
we talk about it all the like our friends, we talk about it in our group in our chat groups outside, and we say hi to each other and we ask each other how we're doing, and we care. And the reason we started our Diogenes Club, that's going to be this Thursday. It's bi-weekly. So the 22nd of January, you'll see our next show. We'll be having the opinionated ogre on for that discussion, which is going to be really cool. He's another person who's coming on for one of these intelligent masculinity discussions. And like, it's so cool to get to see all these different variations because each one is important and each one is slightly different, but they all have very similar theme of
Hmm.
we take accountability and we're willing to live with the consequences of our actions. And we're
Hmm.
willing to accept that our actions will do something to somebody else, either good or bad, or
Hmm.
both, or neutral. And we just have to live with those effects, and that's okay. And then we modulate our behavior so that our actions progress towards good because you want to be better in life. That
Hmm.
seems like an easy option. Um, and it is work, but it is work though. And it's self-reflection. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes willingness. It also takes willingness to love yourself. And in our chat, Centered America just joined. Go subscribe to them, hit their if you're on Substack, hit their name in the chat. You can do it on the phone and subscribe to them. They're worth it. Sherrod Swaney and Gavin Favor are worth the subscribe. Centered America is worth the subscribe. Paid
Support good
subscribe too.
independent media.
For good independent work, they are a 501c4 nationally registered nonprofit organization, and they are going to do some amazing work. And Sherrod is 19 years old and has lived experience and done the masculinity experience. Sherrod, I hope you know we talk about you a lot on these shows. Like you're killing it, brother.
I love that dude. I just resent him for the fact that he's 19 and has it together so good. It's crazy.
Keep that shit up, man. You're going to be a great role model. You are a great role model for folks.
He's a good role model for me. I mean,
Yeah.
for all of us. And I think that, you know, that's, we have to do this work. And I think that, we are doing the work because we recognize that the great majority of guys are the same. They're just scared to confront things. They're scared to take that accountability. They're scared to do that internal inventory and stuff because it is hard work. It's not fun to look at yourself. Is the little
Go
man
watch
back?
your movie, nerd.
It's like, Uncle Nick, you're taking too long.
Go watch your Baby Boss movie. You'll have fun.
But hanging out with you is so much
I know,
better.
but I was hoping he'd fall asleep. I had him wrapped up in a blanket with his head laying down. That didn't happen. And sorry to digress there. We cut.
No, you're good, man.
And it's just one of those things like we know we're flawed and it's okay. And we want to learn from that. And I've already had comments on some of the like writings or shows, and people are like, why men? Why not just do better humaning? And why are you focused on why not? What about the women? And my response to, oh no. We're lost back. Evan for a second. Evan's back. My response to all of that when people say, like, why not women? Or why are you focused on men, but why not women? Or why not all people? Because all people aren't the problem. Men are.
Yeah.
Men are. We're the problem. Like, we need to be better. We need to, and I'm setting this up for, we need to be a man and start making men out of each other. Like, we need to put in the work to make men out of each other. So I have a favorite movie musical from Disney, which is Mulan, because it's one of the best. Like, freaking awesome. Great movie. Great music. Also, I was in choir in high school. I actually got dared to try out for choir by a friend, and I made it. And then I got a solo that year and won like a regional like competition for solo performance. And And I stayed in music all through college after that.
Dude, you've done
All off a
so much
dare.
different stuff.
I've
Like,
done. I have a life. I
yeah.
have. I have some. I've lived a life.
Mm-hmm.
I've realized. Like, I'm excited for my interview because I'm gonna. We're closing the series out with Shane Yurick is going to interview me.
Oh, I'm so
Um,
looking forward to it.
so I'm gonna just. Yeah, my friend did know. My friend did know. He knew I was gonna. I should have been in music. He was in the choir. And I joined the men's choir in high school. We had a men's and we had a women's choirs too, like select choirs. And then we had a combined choir that was really good. We were good in our state. We were good in the region too. I had a really good music uh, upbringing. Um, my teachers were awesome. But leading this back is part of that helped teach me to be a man, like, and what it took to be a man. And one of the songs we sang a lot was "I'll Make a Man Out of You." It's the
Mm.
clarion call song for action for men. It's the "Let's Go Girls" for men. Like, it's you hear that song and you're like, oh yeah, I'm ramped up. Let's go. Let's do this thing. And so I wanted to ask some questions to my friends that are a little bit more whimsical and a little bit more fun, though a little challenging. Um, is what it means to be a man, so that we can make men out of each other. And so the first question is, what does it mean to be as swift as a coursing river?
I doing what you say you're going to do when you do it. You know, it's having integrity. It's the old army answer that it's the first thing that pops to mind is, you know, when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And you fuck, I just had it in my head. Where was I going to go with this? I just had it. It was an army analogy and everything. Doing
God,
what
those
you
army analogies.
Yeah, I know. Doing what you say you're gonna do. Doing just having integrity, man. Just being a man and doing what you say you're gonna do when you do it. Showing up when you're supposed to, working hard for people, taking accountability.
Yeah. And I think, and there's no wrong answer to these questions. That's the fun part.
I know I'm gonna
Um,
think of it like once
you're
we
going to think of
finish,
it
and I'm
as I
gonna
get to the
text
end.
you.
And
Like,
if you
this was
want to go
it.
back, if you want to go back to while I get to the next question, you're welcome to. Like, this is your interview. Like, I'm happy to just let you return back to. Eric did it on me. And I think Walter did too.
All
Um,
right.
being called out in the chat right now, because apparently I promised I would sing the day that DJT leaves office.
Oh,
And
is it
I
today?
was
Did he
I don't
die?
know if he hasn't, not that I've heard, but I haven't been following the news closely. Um, but I guess I will because I guess I said that. So I will. I can sing. It's been a while since I've like I don't. I get so nervous. I get so much stage fright. Um,
Got to
I
warm the
am
pipes
not
up
a
for the family.
I'm not a tenor, Eric. I'm a baritone to bass. Like that's my voice register. I tenor is too high. Tenor is too high.
Dude, we got to
Um,
see this.
I'll get there. I do have a song. I'll relearn a Rafe Vaughan Williams song. He's an American composer from like early America,
Mhm.
and it's a really good song. Um,
Yeah, man. I'm looking
and that's a
forward to it. That'll be
baritone. That's a
awesome.
baritone range. So we'll get. Let's now that we've derailed for a minute. Yes, I will sing when DJT goes, but I will probably do it other times before then. Um, but getting back to our questions is we've gotten swift as a coursing river, and now how do you let yourself embody the force of a great typhoon?
I use my privilege. I weaponize my privilege, actually. And I try to. I was talking about this with a friend yesterday on Threads, I think. I think that, especially as a white man, I think that it's because you think of a typhoon, you think of this big, great force that's like coming in to sweep everything out and clean up the block and everything. And um, I recognize I've recognized the privilege that I have as a white as a white man for a long time. I think the first time I recognized it really was dealing with the cops when I started driving, and you get pulled over and you can be a smartass with the cop and they'll let you go and don't write you a ticket or anything like that. I think that recognizing the position and privilege that you have as a man and using that as a service to other people is important. I recognize that as a 6'4", 215-pound guy with a loud voice, that not everybody's gonna try and intimidate me. You know, that I can push people off guard a little bit. So when I see something, I fucking say something. When I hear ignorance, I will let you know and I will embarrass you in the middle of the store. And if I see you treating somebody like shit, I'm going to step in and I'll embarrass you then too. Um, you know, if I see, just people being untreated wrong and stuff, I make sure that I use what I have. I know inside of me that a cop isn't going to treat me the same way as a black man that he's questioning or something. So I'm going to be the force of a gray typhoon to be like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? You wouldn't treat me like that. So what are you doing to him? It's using that force, using your ability as a man to your privilege to step up and take care of other people and call out injustices and call out wrong. I think that that's the force of a great typhoon that we can be.
I think that's awesome. So, building on that question, is how are you then as strong as a raging fire?
Oh, Jesus, I don't have any problems with this. I can get fired up in a second. It's the same thing. You need to be a, I don't think a raging fire is necessarily strong. I think it's more of a controlled fire is strong, because when I feel like a raging fire, I'm out of control and I'm burning everything around me. When I I I'm learning to be more controlled with it. I'm learning to recognize the fire inside of me and use that as a force to drive for good. I'm using the learning to use my internal fire in a good way and stick up for other people and not just use it as a protection for myself and my own shortcomings, because that's a lot of it. What it's been historically is a lot of us as men, our quick reactions, our quick to anger is usually our own insecurities or our own flaws or our own lack of perspective, so controlling that and using that to drive you in the right direction and a way that helps other people. I think that's a controlled raging fire is the thing that I'm looking for.
I think that's great. I love that. I love that definition and that idea. And so finally, this is the hardest of the questions is how are you or how do you maintain a sort of mysterious as the dark side of the moon? How do you let yourself maintain mystery?
My writing, I think that that's my one thing that I hold on to, where I've always kind of been like a sports guy. I've always kind of been just a regular dude. I wasn't great in high school. I've always felt a lot. I've always had a lot of emotion. Like I said, I have the internal dialogue thing that never shuts the fuck up. It's like my life playing back to me through memories and voices all constantly throughout the day. And I was kind of a fuck up as a kid. I was more concerned with my beautiful cheerleader girlfriend in high school and hanging out with her and being a baseball star and stuff like that. always I always knew I was smart, but I kind of just enjoyed being just a dumb regular dude more. And
Yeah.
so I've always come across that way. I'm not necessarily the most eloquent person, but internally I I've always felt a little bit different. I've always felt a little bit more emotional, a little bit more fragile, a little bit more sensitive. Those more, I guess you could say, feminine parts of me, those more softer parts that I've learned from my mom, I kind of hold those internally. And a lot of that comes out in my writing and stuff. So outwardly, I project just like a regular guy and everything. But when I get in the quiet and solace and I'm thinking to myself, I can put out stuff that people are like, what the fuck, how did you write that? And that's just my quiet time. And that's the, I guess you could say, the mysterious dark side of me is I have those thoughts too, and I think that everybody does, and I think that everybody's intelligent in their own way. They're just either insecure or kind of scared to show that. And I try to hold on to it because I'm insecure about it and because it's fragile to me. Because I mean, the intellectual thing's always been a source of insecurity for me, but I try to hold on to it like a little superpower that I have that I'm proud of. I think that that's kind of a little reward to me and a little thing that I get to impress people with. I think that that's important to have.
You let yourself be creative, I think.
Yeah. It's just
And
like you was singing. You've got that thing that you got it in your back pocket and you can bring it out every once in a while. And everybody's like, oh my God, dude, Nick is like so much more than I thought. Because when I met you the first time, I thought, you were just like me. We think the same, like, oh, it's just another veteran. And like, you want to be friends? It's like how guys make friends and everything. You find like one common interest and you're good. But then when you actually open up and talk to each other and practice intelligent masculinity, you learn so much more and you learn how much depth there is to other men. I mean, to Eric, he's not just a doctor, he's a caregiver, he's a member of his community, he plays pickleball, he talks to us, he takes time out of his day to like call us and just check on
yeah,
us and make sure he's a caregiver. And
he's a
I think
friend.
that there's no other way for us to make it on the other side of this, and there's no other way for us to show the next generation that it's possible or to steer them in the right direction unless we just confront those things that we're scared of and just talk to each other.
Yeah. As Sherrod put it really, really well, is find a group of men, for men specifically, is find a group of men that you are comfortable crying around.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need in your life. You need men that you're comfortable with, that are your friends, that will call you out, that will tell you when you're right and wrong. But it's somebody you can be comfortable crying around because you probably never really had good masculine friends who you think of as masculine friends, no matter what sexuality it doesn't, like, some of the most masculine men out there are gay. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
most masculine men out there are trans. Some of the least masculine men out there are cisgender heterosexual men. They're
Our
some of the
bitch ass
least,
president.
yeah,
He's the
our fun,
least masculine person in the world.
and like, he's a giant testicle, and it's why I
Mm-hmm.
call men by their, when I make fun of other men, I use it by our body parts, like,
Mm-hmm.
because we are the weaker sex. You kick a man in the balls, he's down. But
I
a woman,
consciously think about that now every time. I'm like, oh, he's being a pussy. No, he's being a testicle. Remember
it'll
when you
come more
said,
naturally as you do it more and more. It still takes me a second sometimes too to be like, nope, I want to make sure I'm using my own term on this and my own terminology. Like, Donald Trump is a giant orange testicle.
mm-hmm.
JD Vance is a taint, and so is Pete Hegseth. Stephen Miller looks like a uncircumcised penis and is the smegalomaniac of the world. Like, it's easier to say those things. Like, why am I going to assault a woman? A pussy
Hmm.
pushes out a baby and can take a pounding. Testicles cannot. Simple as that. Like,
Hmm.
can't testicles can't do that. Penis can't do that. Like, we're weaker. Our stuff is weaker, and it's okay to admit it. Like, it's okay to admit that we have more to learn, and maybe we are the weaker sex biologically in the end. Um, who knows? Does it matter? No, I don't really give a shit. As long as my
Yeah.
life is happy and other people around me are happy too. Like, fuck
Thank
off,
you.
folks. Like, get out of here with your your toxicity.
Stop with the
And
dick measuring contests.
yeah,
It gets old. And
like
it's just all a lie anyway. It's all, at the end of the day, we're all just fucking idiots that are trying to make it in the world, and we
yeah.
need to be nice to each other. And I think that that's the thing that, you know, I wanted to make this point real quick, is that I think that part of intelligent masculinity is men embracing the femininity within
Yes.
themselves. Because women, you know, it goes back to why we're talking about men, is because women inherently gravitate towards these things. They gravitate towards introspection and taking accountability and doing internal checks at the end of the day, and, you know, taking time to even doing something as simple as taking a fucking bubble bath and sitting there in peace and letting your day sit. When was the
Mhm.
last time you thought about taking a bubble bath and just sitting there and relaxing and just letting your thoughts sit? I never have, but these are things that they consciously do. And I think that as men, we wrongly look at these things as like, well, I'm not taking a fucking bubble bath, but it's not about the bubble bath. It's about like letting yourself relax and letting
Mhm.
yourself take accountability and thinking about things and processing them, and, you know, making those changes to the next phase of life or the next day. You know, like, I I'm going through a shitty time right now, and probably a lot of it is from my own doing. And we were both wrong about a lot of things, and we didn't recognize that a relationship was going sideways. But I've actually tried to take account of that and really look within inside myself for the past month at least, and be like, all right, how do I approach this going forward? How can I learn from this? I I've already made mistakes. What can I do going forward so that this doesn't happen again? What can I do for myself to where I'm attracting the kind of partner that is going to do the things that I was looking for in that relationship but wasn't getting? What am I It's not about like what didn't they do or stuff like that. It's like, what can I do to make myself better, to try and make my life better? And I think that that's what we have to strive to do. And I think that strong women are probably the best example for us right now.
Agreed. Agreed. Also, when was the last time you ever got flowers as a man? Most men in their life have never received flowers from anyone, from their spouse, from a parent, for anything. I do. I get flowers. My wife buys me flowers. She loves getting me flowers because it makes me happy. I like flowers.
My
Um,
high school girlfriend gave me flowers one time, I think.
how
She
if
was,
if you were to think back on that, what do you remember that making you feel like? If you can think of it, as we just to close out our show on this idea of like give friends flowers,
it
is
just,
how do you think that made you feel?
it made me happy. It was just like, she thought of me, and it was like a cute gesture, but it was like above and beyond because it crossed those gender boundaries. You know what I mean? And God, that girl was fucking. She was just beyond her years, like emotionally intelligent and stuff. And I was dealing with shit back then, and she tried to get me to go to therapy and everything. But just women, they have it. It's why I look at it as like I'm 10 years behind. They just
Hmm.
see it clearer and they see it ahead of us. And that's why we can learn from them. Is they I don't know if it, I mean, I'm sure they biologically and mentally and their brain matures faster than we do and everything, because they're required to reproduce life and care for life and everything. So they have a lot more to worry about than we do. But we've got to get over the mental block of viewing that as like some weakness, because it's a strength, and
Yeah.
we have to learn from it. And if I only would have fucking listened to her when I was 18,
If
I
only,
wouldn't be
man.
10 years behind. But I'm doing the work now, and I'm trying to get through it and just be the best person I can. And I think that, you know, looking at ourselves and doing therapy and trying to be good to others and being intelligently masculine, that's all we can do, man.
Yeah,
And I
it
think that
is.
you're a leading example of that. And because
Thanks, man.
this is, and you're becoming an expert on the topic. I genuinely hope I will do anything that I can to, we've got to figure out a way for somebody in the mainstream media to pick up this idea, the topic, make a documentary out of it. I don't know anything, but what you've tapped into is, I don't think that you realize the public service that you're doing and how much it matters. And it not only to the people that get to tell their stories, like me and Eric and Walter and Shane and Sherrod and everybody, but there's going to be people at home that are watching this that are going to see this on YouTube or whatever, and they're going to go, holy shit, like I can fucking do it. And I think it's going to be a lot more people than you think it will be. And you're just, you're an amazing human being, Nick. I cannot say enough about you. And if you're in the chat and you're not subscribed to Nick, I will personally hunt you down and give you a whooping, because this is the hardest working man on Substack, I promise you.
I appreciate that. I think there are some harder working. At, that said, I will not downplay any of what you just said. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
And I hope some of the larger publications do pick up some of this and even start their own series. But I'd love if they would be interested in supporting this series, like in helping this series grow and reposting and restacking this series, because that's something we like. I've been trying to talk about on like the Banner and Backbone side, and how we work together and how it's a collective over, it's a community over competition. And how do we get larger publications to notice us and actually get this work out there for everyone to hear? And so one of those ways I do that is, even though I'm a smaller publication, I think a lot of you know me because you're here all the time. You've gotten to know me over the past months, and I appreciate all the trust you put in me. Is I get to also give back to my friends with my growing community, is how they can support you, and how we can get your publication growing, and how we can get your word out. Because my work started, I got this idea because Evan put out an article on scholar warrior mentality. And I was like, I fucking love this. Love it. And he tagged me in it. And I felt really good when he tagged me in it. And I want you all to go support Evan's work. If you're not already supporting Evan, go support his work. If you're on Substack, hit the subscribe button in the top left corner and go support his work. Like, he's doing this, he's doing a lot of what I'm doing too in his way. And it's making, like, it influenced me to start this project. So, like, thank you, Evan, for being here and helping with that influence and being a spark for me.
Of course, man. Of course, man. I love you. You're the best. And you're an inspiration to me all the time. I think that one of the things that I think people worry about, and one thing that I will say is, free subscribers help incredibly. So even if you're just a free subscriber, it's $5 a month if you want to go paid, or $50 for the year. But free subscribers just boost the algorithm, and not only that, but just boost the things that we're trying to talk about, and kind of creeps into the more mainstream parts of things where we can get some more recognition. And I think that one of the things that I've realized with meeting you and meeting Shane and meeting Sherrod and Eric and Walter and everybody else is that there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody on Substack, because there's all kinds of different perspectives and collaborations, and you can get a piece of everything, and it's such a beautiful thing, and it's so much better than the watered down independent, or not independent, but the mainstream media and those 3-minute hits that you get. And that's what I try to do. I try to analyze the situations, like what's going on in the world, and put it into perspective for people. And paid subscribers, you usually get a lot more of like my policy analysis and things like that. And if you're in a financial situation and you can't subscribe, but you really, really do want the paid stuff and everything, just message me on Substack. We can work something out, and I'll get you a Compt membership and everything. I have no problem with doing that. I want people to have access to the information. And yeah, just subscribe if you can. Like I said, my personal Substack is the News from Underground one. I also do some writing for Lincoln Square, so you'll see that on there as well. And I'm gonna have to email Rick or text him or something, because I was thinking I would love to hear him answer all these questions. And
Oh yeah, if Rick would be interested, I would most definitely like to have him on the
dude,
show.
if we could just like continue this and like keep growing and growing and growing and get like bigger and bigger people and stuff,
That's my goal. Like, I've got Qasim Rashid at the end of in February. I've got Bobby Jones is coming on here soon. Tim Fullerton, Chris Goldsmith. Like, I've got a really great lineup, and I want to keep it going. Like, I've booked out pretty much till the end of February, but I want to keep it going in perpetuity on like a weekly schedule, something where people actually come in. Because go join Evan. This is all go join Evan right now. Like, become a subscriber with Evan because he is part of this new manosphere. Like, imagine seeing Evan, Walter, Eric, and I on for an hour every day or every week with 1 million viewers, live viewers.
Who the fuck needs Joe Rogan at that point?
Who the fuck needs Joe Rogan? Not just me, but then there's 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 other similar but very different podcasts and groups, and we are replacing the manosphere.
That's all it takes.
We just need to get the stuff out there for these bigger voices, and once they see it, they're gonna love it. They want this and so even with like, you only write a little bit for Lincoln Square, that's a huge thing. Like, I don't write for Lincoln Square. That's fucking awesome, man. Like, congratulations, dude. Like, that's a really big deal, dude. Like, and you learned and you write really well. Like, you deserve what you get, brother. You deserve the recognition from Lincoln Square to be a part of the publication. Like, you've put in the effort. So great work. Don't put yourself down either. I question myself all the time in that imposter syndrome. So all of this to say is go fucking support Evan. And then if you have anything left over, come support me here at Second Edition Publications, so I can keep this growing, so I can grab the attention of folks like Lincoln Square or Find Out Podcast or Blue Ant Media or others who want to pick up the articles and the stories that go along with this, maybe want to pick up the show or participate in the show or help me get it bigger, because we need a big audience. I like the live because then y'all get to participate with me and chat with us, and that's more fun. And imagine if we had 2,000 people on Substack, 2,000 people on Twitch, 2,000 people on YouTube. Like, we could do that in a couple months. Like, let's do it. Spread, share, restack, do all the things, get it out there, download it, re-listen to the show, send it to your friends and family, put it in their email threads, send it in your chat groups on Facebook. You'll see Banner and Backbone stuff on Facebook now. I don't like Facebook, but I'll put it out there. But keep supporting. Free is great. Paid is super awesome. Either way, don't matter. Just come support, come subscribe, come help us out and build this new manosphere that doesn't suck. And this has been, as always for all of these, this has been so much fun, dude. Like, thank you for coming on and talking with me. Thank you for telling me about yourself. Thank you for telling everybody else about yourself and being open and willing to dive into some of the details of your life and what's brought you here and your challenges, and being raw with us. So thank you. And thank you, everyone, for being with us. Evan, I'll see you on Thursday and talk to you in our chats and back and forth. Anyways, so dude, I hope you do well. I hope you have a great afternoon. Everybody in the audience, thank you again. Hit the heart one last time for us, as we go, and have a great afternoon, y'all. You'll see me tomorrow. I'll be back for the window of discussion on Banner and Backbone. And everyone, have a great day. We're done being sick of this shit here at this publication, and we're doing the shit. And that's what intelligent masculinity is it's asking us to do the shit.